I think it's appropriate that I wear this jersey. Walter Payton, the man. You could definitely argue the greatest Bear of all time, the greatest all-around running back of all time, and perhaps even, depending on your perspective, the greatest football player of all time. When he won the Super Bowl in 1985 as a part of that great 85 Bears team, he had his one last great MVP-like season. The problem is that it was 27 seasons ago. 27. And I find myself in 2012 watching this Chicago Bears team, this organization, and just wondering, when is the message going to sink through? When is enough enough for the organization? And in a lot of ways, just as importantly, if not more so, the only way to crank up the heat on that organization to make the radical, drastic changes that are needed. When are the Bears fans, my fellow Bears fans, going to wake the hell up and realize, hey, Chicago, we have a problem here? Here's what I'm going to get to. Lovie Smith. I will give Lovie some credit here first. He's definitely not Wanstead. He's definitely not Duran. He's had a relatively good run in Chicago. I mean, this is a guy, he's won 3 division titles, took the team to a Super Bowl in the 2006 season. Lovie Smith has done some good things. He's been a steady, reliable presence on the sidelines for the Bears for now 9 years. I have a lot of respect for Lovie Smith. I really do. And I really hope that some other team brings him in as a defensive coordinator or some type of assistant, maybe even as a head coach, and gives him a shot. Because the one thing ultimately that I think Lovie Smith did bring, and you could argue this similarly to kind of what Dusty Baker did for the Cubs starting in the 2003 season. When Lovie Smith came, us as Bear fans, we actually got to the point where we could start to have expectations for the team. And that is an incredibly underrated thing. It's great to actually go into a season and have some type of expectations of success. That's certainly not something you could think back on happening during the Wanstead or Duran regimes. But we get to this. It's 2012. The Bears are in the middle of another late season collapse, and yet again have lost to the Green Bay Packers. Now, need I remind any Bear fans out there that when Lovie Smith, was hired by the Bears in the 2003-2004 offseason, he wasn't even the number 1 choice. That was Nick Saban. That's a conversation for another time. But he wasn't even the number 1 choice. He was the fallback option. When he came in for his introductory press conference, Mike McCaskey had his mouthpiece all in his ear, feeding him all full of this BS that he thought Bear fans wanted to hear. Lovie Smith said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the number 1 goal of the program, the number 1 goal is to beat Green Bay. And I love Rex Grossman. He may not have said that last part, but he sure the hell did. Did anybody ever really start to question Lovie Smith when he had like a man crush on Rex Grossman, even though it flew in the face of all logic and reason why he would continue to stand by this guy? For Christ's sakes, he's a primary reason you lost the damn Super Bowl to the Colts. Peyton Manning didn't win a damn Super Bowl. Rex Grossman helped them win it. Rex Grossman was the MVP of that Super Bowl. They should have a stadium of Rex Grossman in his home state outside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Peyton Manning didn't win him that Super Bowl because what happened when Peyton Manning faced a real quarterback in the Super Bowl? He got a shit pushed in. That's right. But Lovie Smith said his number 1 goal of the program, number 1 goal, mind you, was to beat Green Bay. Now, me thinking about it from a rational standpoint, I would say, if I'm taking over as a head coach, the number 1 goal of the program would be to win the Super Bowl, and everything else is secondary. Who gives a shit if you go 16-0 and do it, or go 9-7 and squeak in through the wild card and have to go beat 3 teams on the road in the playoffs to get there? That's the number 1 goal. This whole thing about, well, if you beat Green Bay, that means you're probably going to win the division, which assures a playoff position. Well, we found out, especially in recent years, that winning a division or having a great record in the regular season is not a certainty of any damn thing. How'd that work out for the 2007 Patriots? How'd that work out for the 2011 Packers? Hell, they were the defending champs. Went 15-1 in the regular season, and then they found out that the Giants came in there again and beat them in the playoffs, whooped their ass. Because it was about matchups and other things. Who gives a shit? Me as a Bears fan, I don't care if the Bears beat the Packers or not, if they're hoisting a damn Lombardi trophy. I'd rather the Bears go 9-7, squeak into the wild card position, and go to the damn Super Bowl and win it if they lost to the Packers twice, than to sit there and have this team go, let's say, 14-2 or 13-3, beat the Packers twice, and then get bounced out in the playoffs. Lovie Smith's record against the Packers, including both games for this 2012 season, in his nine seasons as Bears head coach, his overall record, including the 2010 NFC Championship game loss, is 8-11. And since 2009, since they brought in that piece of crap Cutler to be the quarterback, he is 1-8. The bottom line is, the number one goal of the program was not to win Super Bowls, which they failed to do anyways during Lovie Smith's tenure. Their number one goal of the program was not even to get to Super Bowls or to get to NFC Championship games or even to get to the playoffs. The number one goal of the program was to beat Green Bay. And yet time after time after time, Lovie Smith's Chicago Bears team fails to do so. I don't want to hear excuses because there are none anymore. You can't make them. The bottom line is, after 9 seasons, a losing overall record against the Packers, a 1-8 record against them since the start of the 2009 season, it is clearly time for Lovie Smith to go. When you're watching the Bear-Packer game today, and you hear them talking about the Bears' offensive philosophy going in, is that they want to run the ball 40 times. That's the whole problem right there. You got all these teams around the league that are winning games by throwing the ball, having quarterbacks throw for 4,000, 4,500, 5,000 passing yards. And the Bears in 2012 want to play a style of ball like it's 1986 or something. The Bears need a dramatic shift in their overall organizational philosophy on the defensive side of the ball, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. After Mike Ditka was let go after the 1992 season, the Bears have went after 3 straight defensive coordinators: Wanstead, Jaron, Lovie Smith. Lovie is not the man that is going to help this Bears team finally fix their offensive woes. How many of you Bear fans are tired of watching shitty offensive football from this team year after year after year after year? Oh, they're playing Bear football in Bear weather. Newsflash, usually other teams beat them in Bear weather and usually beat them at playing Bear football, especially when it really matters. The bottom line is, it is time for Lovie Smith to go. I wish him all the best in his future endeavors, but he is a failure. And the primary reason he is a failure is because his number one goal of his program, the number one goal, not to win Super Bowls, not even to get there, his number one goal was to beat Green Bay. During his tenure, they're 8-11 against them. An NFC Championship game playoff loss at home thrown in there. And since 2009, since they brought the Cho Jay Cutler on, they're 1-8. What more do you need? Who cares if they win their last 2 games and manage to sneak into the playoffs? They'll get bounced early any damn ways. When is a playoff appearance not good enough anymore? When is it going to be the time for the Bears fans and the organization to catch up with the times and say, hey, you know what? We need to have an explosive offense that can stretch the field both horizontally and vertically in the passing game. A running game is not going to get it done anymore. Playing great defense is not going to get it done anymore. As long as Lovie Smith is the coach of the Chicago Bears, nothing's going to change. Look at the rocket scientists he's put in charge of his offense in the past. People like Terry Shea, Ron Turner, Mike Martz, Mike Tice. They all had different credentials coming in, but as soon as they got to the Bears, they couldn't call a game out of a fucking paper bag. It's time for a change. This shit needs to change. The last time the Bears won the Super Bowl, I was 4 years old. I'm going to be 32 in March. And I'm tired of watching the same pathetically predictable offensive style of football that isn't winning shit. I'm tired of watching this team being built around playing the field position game and running the ball and controlling the clock and playing great defense. You haven't won since Super Bowl 20. That's the only thing that matters. Damn it. And your number one goal of the program was to beat a team that you consistently now can't beat. I respect Lovie Smith. I wish him the best in the future, but he needs to go. Period.